I knew something was off the moment my mom said she was making her special roast for dinner. That's her go-to move when she's about to drop a bomb and wants everyone too full to get mad. But I didn't expect this. It was a Sunday evening, one of those awkward, mandatory family dinners where everyone pretends we're closer than we are. My dad was in his usual spot, glued to the TV until the food was plated. My younger sister, Emily, 25, entitled, unemployed by choice, was already sulking because mom didn't toast the bread enough. Typical. I'm 30, single, stable job in IT, no roommates, no drama. I like my peace. I fought hard for it after years of being overlooked, blamed, or just straight up used by my family, especially when it came to Emily. She's the kind of person who believes sharing is caring only when she's the one taking. Dinner started like normal. Small talk, fake laughs, dad talking about stocks he doesn't own. Then, without warning, mom put her fork down, looked at me, and said, "So we've decided. Emily will live in your apartment for a little while." No question, no request, just a royal decree, served between mashed potatoes and betrayal. I blinked. What? She just needs some space while she figures things out, mom added, sipping her wine like we were negotiating a vacation, not someone else's home. And your place is ideal, close to everything. It's the least you can do. I looked at Emily. She was smirking, not a hint of humility, not a please, just that smug, satisfied look of someone who knew the deal was already done behind my back. You never even asked me, I said, keeping my voice calm. Too calm. I felt the rage starting to boil just below my ribs. Dad finally looked up from his plate. Don't make this difficult. You live alone. It's a 2-bedroom. She's your sister. There it was. The family motto, do it for Emily. I didn't answer. I just chewed, nodded slowly, and said, okay, because that's what they never saw coming. Me saying yes. But I wasn't agreeing to what they thought. For the rest of dinner, I let them ramble about logistics. Emily would move in next Saturday. She'd bring her cat. She might redecorate. She'd need her space, but expected me to do most of the cleaning until she adjusted. They had no idea I was mentally packing up my apartment that very moment. Not my stuff. Just my presence. I was never going to be there when they arrived. And the person who would be, let's just say, they don't take kindly to uninvited guests. After dinner, I drove home gripping the steering wheel like it owed me money. The audacity. The nerve. But I wasn't surprised. Not really. This wasn't the first time my family had tried to hijack something of mine under the disguise of helping Emily. Let me paint a picture for you. Emily had a short-term lease once. She trashed the place so bad the landlord kept her deposit and billed her extra. She burned through 3 jobs in 2 years because, in her words, people didn't respect her boundaries. Boundaries, of course, being her refusal to show up on time, work full shifts, or follow any kind of structure. I knew exactly how this was going to go. She'd move in, claim the bigger bedroom, slowly edge me out of my own living room, invite friends over without asking, fill my fridge with her vegan diet fads while touching none of the rent. And when I finally snapped, I'd be the bad guy again. Like always. Not this time. I spent the next few days preparing. Not packing. I wasn't moving out. I was simply vacating for a while. I started small. I booked a cheap extended stay on the other side of town. I took my work laptop, my valuables, the documents that actually mattered. Everything else, I left behind like a stage set. Furniture, kitchen stuff, my bed. All of it stayed exactly where it was. I wanted it to feel like I still lived there. Because that was the point. I didn't tell a soul, except James. James wasn't exactly a friend. More like a necessary acquaintance. We used to work together a few years back. Good at his job, terrible at making rent. He was the kind of guy who always had 3 side hustles, none of them legal. But the man could sell a lie like it was gospel. Charming, confident, ruthless when he needed to be. We lost touch after he quit, but I knew how to find him. I knew what bars he still haunted, who he still owed money to, and most importantly, what he'd do for a quick cash payout. I reached out, met him the next night at a rundown bar off Main, and laid it all out. He leaned back in his seat, grinning like the devil himself. So, let me get this straight. You want me to live in your apartment, answer the door when they show up, and what? Scare him, not scare them. I replied, keeping my voice low. Make it clear they don't belong there. Act like you've been living there for months. Act like I don't even exist. James let out a low whistle. You know they could call the cops, right? They won't, I said flatly. They're cowards when real confrontation shows up. He laughed again, sipped his drink, and leaned forward. What's in it for me? $2,000, I said, sliding an envelope across the table. James's eyes lit up. He didn't even count it. He just pocketed the envelope and nodded. All right, he said. What's the script? I told him everything. The names, the backstory, the family dynamic, down to Emily's smug little head tilt when she thinks she's won. James soaked it all up like he was preparing for the role of his life. I gave him my spare keys, my building code, and the timeline. Saturday, around noon. They'll show up. Car packed. Probably my mom, dad, and Emily. James cracked his knuckles and stood up. Looks like I'm moving up in the world. By Friday night, I handed him the keys and walked out of my apartment for the last time that week. I didn't look back. I knew the show was just getting started. Saturday arrived faster than I expected. I stayed in my cheap hotel, pacing the floor like a man waiting for a bomb to go off. I told James to text me when it was done. At exactly 12:47 p.m., I got a message. You were right. Car's here. I'm about to open the door. I could barely sit still. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. No updates. I felt the panic rise. What if they called the cops? What if James pushed too far? But then my phone buzzed again. You owe me another $1,000 for what just happened. I stared at the screen, rereading James's message. You owe me another $1,000 for what just happened. I didn't know whether to laugh or panic. I texted back. What did you do? No answer. I called him twice. Straight to voicemail. The next few hours felt like hell. I walked the room, checked my phone 100 times, cursed myself for getting him involved. Maybe I'd gone too far. Maybe they had called the cops. Maybe James crossed a line I didn't authorize. Finally, just past 4 p.m., he called. Relax, he said, sounding almost amused. It went better than you could have scripted. I waited silently, jaw clenched. He laughed. They showed up all smiles, like they were moving into a beach house they won in a contest. I let them knock for a while. Then I opened the door. In your bathrobe. You're joking. Dead serious. I stood there, brushing my teeth with your toothbrush for dramatic effect. My stomach turned, but I let him keep talking. Your mom asked who the hell I was. I told her I'd been renting this place for 3 months. Said I didn't know any Nathan. That's me, Nathan. He went on. Your dad tried to push the door open, but I didn't let him. I stayed real calm. Said I didn't know what scam they were pulling, but they had 5 seconds to get off my property or I'd call the building manager. I could almost picture it. James chuckled again. Your sister, she lost it. Started yelling that this was her apartment. She even tried to step inside. I told her if she took one more step, I'd call the cops for trespassing. I imagined her face turning red, her little victory fantasy collapsing right there on the doorstep. They argued for a while. James continued. I didn't budge. Eventually, they left. But not before your dad promised he'd be back with proof. I rubbed my temples. And you're sure they left? Positive. I watched them drive off. But they didn't look finished. James paused, lowering his voice. You might want to block their numbers, man. They're not done playing. He hung up before I could answer. I sat in silence for a long time, staring at the wall. What James did was perfect, almost too perfect. But something told me this was far from over. The text started that night. First from my mother. Nathan, who was that man in your apartment? Why would you let a stranger live there? This is dangerous. Then my dad. Call me. Now. Before this gets out of hand. And of course, Emily. You're a psycho. You just made a huge mistake. I didn't respond. I blocked all 3 of them. My phone rang nonstop for hours from numbers I didn't recognize. All ignored. Eventually, I powered it off. By Monday, the emails started. First my mom, then Emily, blasting me for being cruel, for humiliating the family, for endangering them by harboring a criminal. Apparently, James' casual act of brushing his teeth while wearing my robe made them assume he was homeless or mentally unstable, which, in their minds, meant I'd intentionally endangered my sister. The irony? They were ready to dump her in my place without permission, and now they were mad it didn't go their way. I let them stew. But Tuesday? That's when things escalated. I got a call from my building manager, Rhonda. Sharp woman. No nonsense. Liked me because I always paid early and never complained. Hey, Nate, she said. Strangest thing. A woman and older couple showed up here this morning, demanding to be let into your apartment. Said you were being evicted and they had paperwork. My heart dropped. I told them unless their names were on a lease, which they weren't. They had 5 seconds to leave, or I'd call security. I couldn't help but grin. Appreciate you, Rhonda. She chuckled. You pick good friends. That guy staying in your place? Bit intense, but polite. Just let me know how long he's crashing there. Just temporary, I assured her. Thanks again. She hung up. I sat back, stunned. They tried to stage a fake eviction. That meant they'd actually printed documents, marched down there like they were law enforcement, and thought that would work. Whatever came next, it wouldn't be rational. But I was ready now. And the next time they came to my door, I wasn't planning to be polite. The calm only lasted 2 days. Thursday evening, Rhonda called again. They're back, she whispered like she was reporting a hostage situation. I rubbed my face. How many? 4 of them this time. They brought some guy in a suit. My stomach twisted. A lawyer? She scoffed. If he is, he's the cheapest one in town. He's waving around papers like they mean something. I could picture it already. My dad probably found some bottom-of-the-barrel paralegal to draft fake eviction papers. Desperation looked good on them. Should I come down there? I asked. No need, she replied. I've already called building security. You might want to come by later, though. They're causing a damn scene. After we hung up, I debated for a moment, then decided to text James. They're back. You there? Seconds later, he replied. I see them from the peephole. Looks like they brought a budget Saul Goodman. I nearly laughed. That's exactly what I imagined. Let them knock. Don't answer. I'll handle it tonight. He gave me a thumbs-up emoji. I waited till after 8 p.m. when Rhonda confirmed they had finally left. I headed straight there. As I pulled into the lot, I saw my dad's car parked down the street. Lights off, like they thought they were tailing me for some kind of gotcha moment. I parked without looking their way and walked straight inside. My heart pounded, but my face didn't show it. James opened the door the moment I knocked. You're lucky I don't charge extra for this kind of entertainment, he muttered. Let me guess, I said. They tried to kick you out again? Like clockwork, he replied. Except this time, they had official documents. He held up a crumpled piece of paper and laughed. Didn't even spell your name right. I snatched the paper and glanced at it. It was a joke. No legal seal. Just some garbage template they probably downloaded online. They're watching us right now, James added, peeking through the blinds. Your old man's out there in his car, probably waiting to see if you run. I smiled coldly. Good. I turned off the lights, cracked the door open, and walked back out to my car. I could feel their eyes burning into me as I drove off. I knew they'd be back. But next time, I wouldn't leave. Saturday came faster than I expected. I parked a block away and watched from a distance. James was inside, lights off like we planned. Around noon, a moving truck arrived. I saw my dad step out first. Then Emily. Then my mom. The 3 of them stood there on the curb like they were inspecting their new property. They had boxes, furniture, even Emily's stupid hanging plants. I watched as they knocked. Again. James didn't open the door this time. Not a sound from inside. After about 15 minutes of standing around, my dad pulled out his phone and started calling. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Again and again. I let it ring. I wanted them to think I was running. After another 20 minutes, I watched them do exactly what I expected, take out a tool set from the truck. They actually started changing the lock. Right there. In broad daylight. I recorded everything from my car, zoomed in with my phone camera. Emily kept glancing around like she knew they were doing something illegal, but wasn't brave enough to stop it. After they finished, they carried in box after box, acting like they owned the place. I could hear them laughing from where I sat. That was my final confirmation. I texted Rhonda. They broke in. Changed the lock. I have it all on video. She replied instantly. Want me to call the cops? Not yet, I replied. Let's wait until they settle in. I let them unpack. I let them celebrate. I let them believe, really believe, they'd won. That night, James texted me again. They brought pizza, popped champagne. They're walking around like it's Christmas morning. I smiled, but there was no humor in it. Good, I replied. I'll be there tomorrow morning. And I'm bringing company. Tomorrow, I was walking in with the real building manager, 2 security guards, and the police. And I was going to kick them out myself. Sunday morning, I showed up just after 9 a.m. Not alone. Rhonda was with me, clipboard in hand. 2 security guards flanked her. One of them was the same guy who worked nights, the one who already knew my family was trouble. Behind us, a patrol car pulled in slowly. 2 officers stepped out. It was perfect. We walked right up to the door. I could hear the TV blasting from inside. My dad's deep laugh boomed through the walls, like he'd already claimed the place as his own. Rhonda knocked first. Firm, loud, unmistakable. It went silent inside. Another knock. This time, the guards stepped closer. Finally, I heard shuffling. The door cracked open. My mom peeked through, her face going pale the second she saw me standing there with the police. She slammed the door shut without a word. Cowards. One of the officers knocked next. Open the door. Right now. After a pause, I heard the lock click. The door opened just wide enough to reveal my dad's face, beet red with rage. What the hell is this? He barked. Rhonda stepped up, calm as ever. This is us, taking back legal possession of this apartment. You've been reported for illegal entry and unlawful occupancy. My dad laughed bitterly. We have papers. You can't. Rhonda cut him off. Fake ones. Already verified. We've seen the footage. You're leaving. Now. Emily appeared behind him, eyes wide, clutching her phone like she was seconds from calling someone, probably trying to text my cousins to spin the story. My mom started crying right on cue. Nathan, please, just let us stay a while. It's all we have. I didn't even flinch. You broke into my home, I said coldly. You changed my locks. You stole my space. You humiliated me. You used me. I pointed to the officers. Get them out. What followed felt like something out of a movie. The officers ordered them to pack. Emily started arguing. My mom sobbed louder. My dad tried to bluff his way through, but the guards weren't having it. I stood there the whole time, arms crossed, while they loaded every box right back into the truck they had so proudly unpacked. When they were done, my dad turned to me one last time. You'll regret this. I smiled. No, Dad. You will. By the time they cleared the door, the street was dead silent. No more fake papers. No more fake smiles. Just a defeated, humiliated family standing in the driveway with nowhere to go. I watched my dad clench his fist like he was seconds from swinging. But even he wasn't that stupid, not with two cops standing right there. My mom gave it one last shot, clutching her chest like she was having a dramatic heart attack. Oh, Nathan, you'll tear this family apart. I leaned forward just enough for her to hear. You did that years ago. I'm just finally finishing the job. She broke into loud, messy sobs while Emily stood frozen like a deer in headlights. For once, she didn't have anything to say. I think reality finally hit her. There was no backup plan. No fallback. Rhonda stepped up next to me, clipboard in hand. Keys. Now. My dad hesitated, then slowly fished the keys from his pocket. He threw them down at our feet like a toddler throwing a tantrum. One of the guards picked them up without a word. I let them stand there for another few seconds, soaking in their failure, before I spoke again. Let me make this simple for all of you. If you set foot on this property again, I will press charges. I could feel the heat in my dad's stare, but he knew he'd lost. He grabbed my mom by the arm and turned toward the truck. Emily followed, sniffling like she was the victim in all this. I waited until they pulled out of the driveway before turning to Rhonda. Change the locks again, I said. And this time, add a chain. You got it, she replied. James appeared from around the side of the building, giving me a slow clap. Damn, he said. That was beautiful. I sighed, exhausted but satisfied. Thanks for your help, man. Seriously. He nodded, then held up his phone. By the way, I recorded the whole thing. I couldn't help but grin. Keep it. Just in case. I thought that was the end, but I should have known better. Because the next day, I got a letter. And what was in it was worse than I could have ever predicted. It showed up Monday morning. No return address, no sender listed, just my name written on the envelope in shaky cursive. I knew it was from my mother before I even opened it. I sat down at my tiny kitchen table and ripped it open. The letter wasn't handwritten. It was typed, like she wanted it to look official. But the wording? Pure emotional blackmail. It started off pretending to be polite. Nathan, I hope you can forgive us. We only wanted what was best for Emily. Then it took a dark turn. We've spoken to the rest of the family. They agree that you've become cruel, selfish, and dangerous. If you don't make this right, we will have no choice but to let everyone know what you've done to us. What I done? I laughed bitterly. I guess standing up for myself now qualified as abuse in their twisted minds. But then came the real threat. Emily has nowhere to go. If you don't open your home to her, she'll have to move across the country. We'll tell everyone you forced her out to live on the streets. My fists clenched as I read it over again. They were doubling down, preparing to spin the story to make me the villain across the entire family tree. I almost crumpled it up and threw it away. Almost. But then I had an idea. I pulled out my phone, snapped a clear photo of the letter, and drafted one short text. I sent it to every extended family member I had in my contacts. Since they're threatening to lie about me, here's the truth in their own words. And I attached the photo of the letter. No commentary. No long speech. Just the evidence. Within minutes, my phone started blowing up. My cousins, uncles, aunts, all of them shocked. Some angry at them. Some offering support to me. Apparently, I wasn't the only one they tried to manipulate over the years. It was over. I had burned every bridge they tried to build against me. And when Emily showed up one last time, let's just say she learned exactly how finished I was. She showed up the following Saturday. Alone this time. No parents. No moving truck. No backup. I saw her from the window, pacing in front of my door for several minutes like she was rehearsing her lines. I already knew how this would go. She wasn't here to apologize. She was here to beg, to manipulate, to gaslight. I waited until she rang the bell twice before answering. I cracked the door just enough for her to see my face. She smiled like nothing had happened. Can I come in? I didn't move. What do you want, Emily? Her eyes watered on command. I'd seen this performance 100 times growing up. I don't have anywhere else to go, she whispered. I can't afford rent. I can't stay with Mom and Dad. Please. Just for a little while. I stared at her. The same sister who tried to steal my home. Who changed my locks. Who faked paperwork. Who threatened to ruin my reputation. I kept my voice cold. No. Her face twisted in disbelief. Like she hadn't actually prepared herself for rejection. But, I'm your sister, she stammered. I stepped fully into the doorway now, blocking her view inside. Exactly, I said. And you've been treating me like a stranger my entire life. Her lip quivered. I knew she was about to try something bigger, more pathetic, more desperate. So I cut her off before she could speak again. Let me make this clear one last time, I said, leaning in. You and I? We're done. You are not my problem. You will never live here. You will never take anything from me again. She started crying, real or fake. I didn't care anymore. Go home, Emily. Whatever home you still have. And then I closed the door. Not softly. Not slowly. I slammed it shut. I stood there for a moment, listening to her footsteps fade down the hallway. It was quiet. For the first time in my life, it was actually quiet. No more guilt trips. No more manipulation. No more family trying to shove their chaos into my peace. Just me, standing in the doorway of the home I fought for. And this time, it was mine.